for the people who got love for the people who got love for themselves.
For the love for the people, love for these streets, from north to the south to the west to the east, for the sake of this whole earth. Best believe we gotta stand strong together and make peace.
Right, hello everyone, welcome to, I think we're on Livestream 20 or 21 now. Sorry for the slightly late start, I'm about 15 late. Just had to sort a few things out. So what we're going to be doing today is basically revisiting the code that I started doing today and some changes to it. Part of the reason we're doing that is because I'm not entirely happy with the way that it works. There are some additions that I want to make. For the most part it's okay. But mainly, I want to tidy up, want to kind of package it up in a nicer way. Also, I want to be able to basically want to make it so that the objects that we have in the scene can actually kind of exist on multiple layers in the voxel engine. So let's say we have two objects that overlap when they're placed in the scene. One collision point in memory doesn't overwrite the other one, because that was a problem that we had before, but it does require kind of a fundamental shift in the way that we're doing some of the base code. We'll have a look at that basically and see if we can sort it out. But yeah, first of all, let's tidy up a few things. So one thing I want to do is add the concept of an origin point to our objects. So I need to find the point where we had them all set before. Here we go. And also add an additional field here. So I'll have this as an effector. And this will just be a kind of point chosen within this collision volume that we can use to basically reference where the center should be and where everything else should be placed around it. I also want to define collision boundaries. So this will be actually, I've not even checked if the audio is working. Let me just double check that quickly. Is it working? Testing, testing. Is it working? There we go, yeah, it's fine. Okay. No problem then. Yeah, so thanks Project Ghost. But yeah, just wanted to add in these max object widths depths to replace these hard-coded values that I have in here. So I'm going to kind of stick with the existing sizes that we've got, so it actually works quite nicely for all of the objects that we have so far. This may change in the future if we have larger objects, obviously. this will be a placement here. Subject height, there we go. Origin offset, I will default to, I think, dead center of the object. So that would be, I think it's 1, 1. It was 3, I think it was. 2, 3. 7, 4 actually. There we go. Yeah, with that defined, we'll then search for any location where I've also hard-coded those values. Here's a good example. This is going to be a nightmare to type out, but we'll have to do it. In fact, I will copy this. There we go. There's also, I believe, hard-coded value somewhere around here. Yeah, so we've got this code here where we're wanting to actually take away from the, I believe it's the origin we want to take away. What's with the 11 days to go countdown? I'm just trying to grow my follower base. I thought 2 Sundays from now seemed like a reasonable time frame, so just thought I'd put that on there. Nothing, there's no particular reason behind it, to be honest. Because the goal is basically long term. Myself and Joshua Matthews, the person I'm working with, he's the designer on the team. We're going to release a Kickstarter in, I believe it's next month, sometime in April. I can't remember the exact date. I think it's 10th to the 14th. So when we do that, we're hoping to have at least somebody with eyes on the company so that we can kind of release the project onto Kickstarter. We have a lot of kind of materials and plans ready for that. And these live streams are really just a way for us to be very transparent and open about the development process so far. So that's why I've got the goal set at the moment, because I really want to start building a user base now as soon as possible, and try and start pushing this heavily on like Twitter and stuff. And hopefully someone's interested in this content. I know you're watching, obviously, which I'm, very happy with. So hopefully we can bring more people in. More than anything, I just want to be able to have a conversation with people while building, and also receive feedback and suggestions in real time. Last time I had people watch the stream, which was months ago now, they were actually able to help me solve some pretty major bugs early on when developing this, so that was like really helpful, and it was really satisfying as well to have people actually in chat help with those problems. I did not know I could do that. I've just discovered I can increment left and right with a button on my mouse. More you know. Right, so this -1, I'm not exactly sure how to go with this, so what numbers we're going here? So here we're trying to center our calculations around the origin point. So we're going through each space. We'd want to minus it relative to. So for now it's -1, but let's say the box was 2 bigger, sorry. The origin would be and the center point would also grow proportional to that. So I think this one is minus the center point, but I might be wrong. Makes sense that it is though. Same with the Z, I think. But since we actually don't want, find it. Since for now we don't want anything in there, we'll set that to 0. So we need to reference the property data storage instance ID dot origin offset dot x. There we go. So that should be fine, but I've literally not changed that at all, unless I'm missing like a bracket or something. Double check everything. What's changed? Copy that. Right, so there's no issues with this line of code, but as soon as I drop that in, is it going to work? Apparently not, for some reason. Anyway, doesn't matter. Now, we'll work it out in a second. This one's Y. Might be that I need to bracket it or something. Don't know why it would be the case, but we'll give it a go. Unless I'm missing something obvious. No, still doesn't like it. Right. Let's try and work this out quickly. So, prop instance ID exposition plus the increment minus 1. I don't know why we can't access that as a number. Maybe because it's not technically an int. I will try converting this over to an int, see if that works. Why? Because it's a float vector. I don't know if I can do int vector. Probably not. Let's just do X origin and then replace this. With Y, Z. There we go. So let's try it now. That's not what we wanted. And I've just pressed compile by mistake. I need to really stop fat fingering the keyboard. Seem to be doing it a lot this morning. See, this works. I'm not sure why it wasn't working with a float. Well, I guess because I'd need to convert it for an int for it to be an array pointer. What do you call it? An array incrementer. Forget the word. But yeah, basically it wouldn't allow me to put a decimal in there because it wouldn't make sense to search through an array using decimals, obviously. So that's why that wasn't working. I could have converted it all to an integer, but you know, it wouldn't really be that important. Proj host, so what am I specifically working on right now? Do you want to know what I'm working on in terms of the project or this code snippet itself that I'm trying to get working? The stream itself, right, so basically the whole idea with this stream is to almost kind of like open up the development process for the project that we're working on. So long term, we're going to have a Kickstarter campaign, and as part of that, we kind of want to be really open and transparent with our company. So I'll show you some of our, I'll show you just our YouTube channel, for example. So we build our company kind of around this idea of showing off everything that we do. So we have the live streams, obviously, which I'm recording now. We also have what I'm now calling the staff podcast. So this is basically where me and so this is Joshua Matthews here, where me and him can kind of really like talk about what our personal lives are like, what we're up to, maybe stuff that we're working on, maybe play games even, that kind of thing. And then we can invite guests on, like our friends here and there. Sandesh is someone who comes on quite a lot in some of the podcasts that we've got recorded already that are going to be going up over the next few weeks. And all of this is like kind of just in an effort to have a really kind of personal connection with our followers in the long term. So hopefully we'll kind of build a user base around the fact that you can see everything that we are doing as content creators and as developers. And then eventually we'll release a game. That game, it's currently under the name, well, I call it IsoEngine on the engine side, but when Joshua Matthews does the actual content side of it, we're currently working under the name Reign of Rains, but that might change. So that's Rain. I'll type it out so you can see what I mean. So Reign of Rain, that spelling. So it's like the kind of like the overtaking of nature in a way, and the whole point of it is it's going to be kind of like a simulated ecosystem set in a kind of medieval setting, but it's not really the main focus of the game. That's just time period. And it's going to be a loose time period, it's not really going to be fixed in any particular point in history or anything like that. It's just an easy time period to work in all honesty. Okay, so let's see if I can do more hard code. Probably easiest for me if I copy this, to be quite honest. So the code that I'm working on right now, I don't know if I can show it off because I can't remember if I broke it or not previously, but basically, right now we can spawn in props when this is done loading. There we go. So right now we can spawn in props. However, what was happening before is you could only add and remove them based on the origin position of the object, which was at the bottom here. So I've got it to work where I can remove them at any point, and I can set those boundaries. But what I'm trying to do right now is make it so that when two objects overlap, you can remove both at the same time. I'm also cleaning up the code as well from that, so that we can. So that basically it's just easier for me to maintain moving forward, because there's a few features that are part of it that I'm trying to work out right now. Oh, thanks for the follow, dude. That's awesome. But yeah, just trying to clean up the code currently. So if you guys are kind of really interested in what I'm doing, these kind of small improvements that I'm making now will speed things up in the future, and it won't be as boring where I'm having to write literally everything out by hand every time, and then any time I want to make a change, obviously I can just change one number as opposed to like doing the whole thing. So like in this file, I think I've written 337 about 5 times, and I plan on writing it more. So it'll make things a lot easier for the future. And I'm also going to package this up into a function, I think, as well. So just find where I was working before. Where was it that I made the improvement? Here we go. So part of the delete prop function. I'm just going to copy this section here just so I can paste it into... Yes, I believe it's slightly different. And then this one would just be my X-Origin code. So again, what we're doing is we're iterating over the volume that a shape can occupy, that a prop can occupy, and checking each space within that, using the origin as an offset as well, so that we can see if there's any overlap between objects, basically. So this will be changed to something else in this code. I believe it's prop. No, it's prop storage space here. And then I'll just copy this bit. And that's Y origin. And this one would be Z origin, but the Z origin here is 0, which is why we weren't taking it away before, since there was nothing to take away originally. But yeah, now that we've got an actual origin value in there, we can use that. So one important thing to do as well, if there is any changes within where we want the origin to be, is to set it in this function. So currently I've set occupied collision spaces as part of the volumes that I'm working on right now. So what we want to do is update to storage, offset origin, X origin. Now this is a bit of a faff, don't really want to have to do this, but it does get a bit messy after a while, but oh well. Actually these will be 1, won't they? It's this one that's 0. And YZ. Although in a nice way it's kind of the same for all of them, so it's not too interesting. That was 4, I think. There we go. So yeah, we want this for all of the shapes currently that we've got in the scene, because I believe it's the same for all of them currently. There was a weird issue that we were having last time on the stream where some of the objects seemed to be having additional spaces set even though they were initialized to 0, which was really strange. But that might be something that we can fix relatively easily. I just have to investigate it really a bit further, but I'll do that once this other feature is implemented, because it fundamentally might change. There's no point in me fixing it now if I'm going to potentially rewrite the whole base code at some point. So, right, let's find where we were again before. So we want to update. We've updated this one. I'm sure there's more sections of the code that I'd have to do somewhere. There's also an error up here. Oh, that's just IntelliSense being broken. Oh, so it's actually only in 2 places. I thought it was in more, but that's no biggie. One thing I also wanted to do was package this function up so that I can use it more flexibly, because currently, while I can check if the thing that you're placing in the scene, I can check if the origin is overlapping with any of the other objects' occupied space. I can't check it the other way round. So let's say I was to place an object like a tree underneath another object, it would be able to overlap with the tree above it, whereas it wouldn't be able to have its origin placed inside of the other tree. So I want to fix that. But also I want to make it so that overlap is technically possible. Just in case in the future we want to have dense clusters of props, because I know that for the editor I think it's going to be quite important that you know, there is that flexibility there where people can say like place groups of plants together or place rocks together and that kind of thing. So we'll do that after I've just tested this, make sure this this optimization, code optimization works first. So this is going to take some time. What are some of the big challenges you're going to come up upon in bringing this project to life? So the biggest thing at the moment... Oh, thanks for the follow again. We've got 2 follows today, that's great. I can update the follower goal at some point, but yeah, really pleased that we hit that in a single day. Been trying to grow followers for ages, actually. But yeah, sorry, on to the question. The biggest problem I think that I'm going to face as the programmer is going to be getting the AI to work. I have a pretty solid idea of how I want to go about it, but I don't have a solid estimate on the timeframes yet, and so that could be the thing that really kind of brings progress to a halt. But hopefully, in terms of content, that will be the most interesting bit for most people. So we will still kind of keep on chugging along and hopefully be building that following as we go. It'll just be that the game might not release with as many features down the road as we would like to get in there, but we will obviously try and get that done as soon as possible. So let's just double check this still works. I think it does. If I can do it from the top. Yeah, that's awesome. So this is what I mean. So before we could remove from the origin only. Now, however, with this new code that I've just kind of updated slightly, you can remove it from anywhere on the shape, so long as you define what volume is kind of active on that prop. So active here is just the boolean that we set. To say whether or not that position is true or false, it should be initialized to 0, I think. If not, I will set that somewhere at some point. To be honest, it's probably worth doing that now, just to double check that it is actually being initialized properly. But it should be. Let's copy... I'm in the wrong one. Copy this. Drop it into begin play. So this is kind of like our initialization function. So we already have something similar for prop reference IDs. So this is just initializing the grid in memory that stores data about what objects are in which position, basically. To answer the question that Ghost asked a bit more as well, what challenges will we kind of come upon? I think building a following is the most difficult part by far, because we will want to release our Kickstarter campaign soon, and if obviously that flops, then the project will still move forward, of course, but it will just mean that it's a bit more difficult for us to commit full time. So currently I am full time on this for the rest of the year, but Josh isn't, because he basically needs to work to himself for a living. But he does work on this in the majority of his time. But if we were able to get funding, it wouldn't just be like, here's, you know, £5,000, go buy whatever clothes you want, go buy, you know, nice food, spend it all. It'd be, no, literally it would be covering our bare bones living costs, and that would be it. Because that, to us, is the development costs that we have, on top of equipment and maybe some marketing costs, but we want to kind of grow our following organically. We don't really want to market through like Facebook ads or something stupid. We really want to kind of connect with the people that we're developing for, and work on it that way. Right, so we need another for loop. Oh no, we don't, sorry. We need to do, what's the thing that we're referencing here? Prop data storage. What am I dreading to implement? It's a good question. Dreading to implement, I would say AI, but I actually quite like working on AI, so that's not too much of a big deal for me. I would say I don't know. That's hard to tell. It's hard to say, really. The thing that I think I'll find most boring, but is actually one of the easiest things to do, is working on things like menus and stuff like that. Kind of the polish features that don't really add anything to the functionality of the game, but are kind of essential, and you do definitely need those in there. So I'd say that, to be honest. Hang on, what am I doing? In actual fact, that wasn't even what I was meant to do. Sorry about this. So let's go back in here. Right, so just to explain what it is I'm doing now, I'll just keep the same incrementer. I'm basically iterating through every potential object that we can have and setting all of its properties to 0. So X origin needs to be reset. Just because these are essential at the setup of the object. And what else? There was something else that I needed to do as well. Set the collision volume as well. That was the main thing. Ah, so this is where I needed that for loop. That's why I'd done that. So yeah, I will need to add that back in, but just the other way around this time. In fact, what I'll do, cut that, undo what I've just done. Bit of a faff, but yeah. Add this in up here. There we go. Prop reference IDs. Change this to I, since it's not one of the XYZ increments. That's just kind of an incrementer for the objects that we're running through. I don't think as well if there are any other mechanics that I'm really kind of dreading implementing. I'd say maybe the player controller, because we don't really know how we want the player to feel yet. Because it's kind of a matter of building the rest of, like, it sounds kind of a bit counterintuitive, but basically what we're doing is we're building the environment before we're even building the game, which for most people wouldn't make any sense at all. But for us, the whole core of our project is that essentially you'll be able to customize the world that you're in, and really kind of make it your own. So it's a very backwards way of doing it, and it means there's a lot of risk at the end of the project when we actually come to build the player character that it's not fun. But the whole the core of the game is not that aspect of the game is fun. So we're hoping that the risk isn't too great and that in the end it does kind of pay off. And I'm quite optimistic, to be quite honest. So okay. One thing I will also quickly do, so I replace those hard-coded values. I'm also going to add another one in for max props. And then I can replace any instance of this 256 number that I've got laying around. So let's just quickly scan through, just in case we want to increase the prop limit at any point. Quite a nice thing to just be able to change with one number. I'm also going to centralize all of these variables at some point so that Josh can go in and basically just edit stuff through the editor. So if he wants to increase the prop amount as a designer, he can do, but that's something I'll do at a later date. This at the moment is just kind of my code. It's not something he needs to touch right now, at least not while it's in the kind of development / testing phase. And then once it's ready to go and we know that it's safe and it runs fine, I will overhaul those aspects of the code so that they are more kind of polished and designer friendly. Right, so onto the thing that I've kind of been dreading doing. We're going to change, what is it? So we're going to change collision volume, no, prop reference IDs to be a container of a list, which is kind of awkward to do. And it requires having some additional code in there. But one thing I'll do before that actually is have a code highlighter inside of the editor so that I can see what objects it is I am hovering over. So I'll make a new function quickly called highlight prop. This shouldn't be too difficult to implement. There we go. Got there in the end. So we want to be able to go into the prop controller. What have I called it? I think it's just called props actually. Yeah. Pretty sure I have a get prop at location. There we go. And then I basically want to loop through every single space in the game world, so a bunch of fours. World width. Change this to xinc again, just so it's kind of consistent, it's easy to read. Copy this for however many times I'm doing it. There we go. Now I don't know if this will introduce a lot of lag. It could do, potentially, so we'll have to test it. Luckily it's not a feature that's a pain in the arse to develop, so it shouldn't take too long to put in and then subsequently undo if I have to. But we'll drop that in there, give it the X, Y and Z. So that's done. I think this returns an int. Yeah, it does return an int. So this will tell me what object it is that we're actually using. So we'll have an int in here called object ID. And before I move any further, actually, I'll just update the font. Because I'm well happy that we've hit an additional 2 follows, to be honest. Yeah, I'll update. Let's update it to 4. Keep the increment small for now. And we'll set the same time. What was it? The 15th? Excuse me. There we go. Really happy that we've got follows today. That's pretty cool. Right, so onto this bit. So we want to have a highlight basically to show us where prop is that we're hovering over. I have a bit of code elsewhere that does something similar, so I'll just see if I can find that. Draw debug box, here we go. Copy that one. In fact, I'll start editing this code in here as well. Here we go. If object ID is more than -1, so I believe that's what they are when there's nothing in them. Draw the debug box, and this is where it gets a bit complicated, but essentially what we want to do is take this object ID and get the boundaries of the shape that we're looking at. It will kind of be like a quick dirty solution initially. It won't be like it'll conform to the actual size of the object, it will just kind of conform to the max boundaries for now, but I will update this eventually. Once I've got the multiple highlighting thing working and that's all good. Because this will need to loop over multiple positions once I've added a list in for that. So it would be props dot what would it be? Prop data storage. And then we want to have oh no, so that's just one position. Then we want to put in object ID in here. Why is this not working? Is it not props? Oh, there we go. So I can't remember which one this is. I think this is. I don't remember if it's the size. So I think this is the size one, and then yeah, so this world placement pos is the position, which I will also need to update. But for now, we want to know the collision max boundaries. I suppose I could also put a define in here as well, inside of editor camera. Sure, why not? This is probably the quickest way to do it, and then I can obviously centralize all of these at some point. So, get those, drop them into here. Did I put them before, right at the top? So they're easy to find. There we go. And then I can use these in the code that I've just been working on. And in actual fact I won't need this section in here, I'll need it inside of world placement position instead. So I'll delete that, and for now do another F vector. This is a bit messy, sorry for this. But yeah, we want, what would it be? So still need these numbers in there because we'll times it by that to get the appropriate box size. It'll be prop max, or is it max prop width? max object width, there we go. And then basically doing the same thing again for each of these. Right, so this is the bit that I actually need to work out how to do correctly. So I believe it will be the .x, .y, .z minus the offset and then times by whatever the values are, the width, depths and heights of each voxel, which is 100, 100, 50, which is why these are half. So this defines the dimensions in each direction from the origin point, I believe. This is kind of an awkward setup to have to do, but I'm going to give it a go. So we need .x minus .x origin, and then we will times the whole thing by 100. So we also need basically the same thing, but for y origin and 100 again, and then finally we need one for z origin and 50 this time. So I have no idea if this will work. I'm obviously hoping that it will, but there's a fat chance that it just doesn't. We'll see. So let's just quickly run through the logic quickly on here. So we're going through the x, y, z. We're getting the location of a prop, if one exists. Draw a debug box centered at the x, y, z in world space, with the offset of the origin taken into account. Oh, it'll also need to be in addition to half the width as well. So I think that's basically what I need to do. So taking the yeah, so what we're doing is we're saying I'm going to get the x position, so let's say it's at, I don't know, something easy, 5, 5. Then we're saying add, let's say it's 2.5 to it. And then we're taking away where the origin position would be for that object. Again, let's say it's 2.5, that cancels out. There we go, that should work. So I believe that's what we need to do. We'll do the same for the other ones. Obviously that's depth. And then we've got here height as well. I believe that's all good. So let's test this out. So save that. File it. God knows what this will actually do, by the way. I don't have a clue if it'll even work. Oh, thanks for joining me anyway, Ghost, and yeah, have a nice day. Hopefully I'll see you next time. It does actually work, which is nice. Although it shouldn't be showing those constantly. Because what I actually need to be doing is not for each... Yeah. Of course I don't need to be doing it like that. What I need to be doing actually is taking the... can't remember which one it is, but it's one of the cam aim position things. Which one is it? Voxel placement position, that's what I need. So get rid of this entire thing actually, which is kind of annoying since I've spent some time putting it in, but it's my own fault for not thinking it through. For this. Try this instead. Excuse me. Yep. So hopefully this works. I think I've chosen the right variable to use, but I might not have done, so we'll just have to give that a quick go. I'd expect it to work there. Oh, it did something. Shouldn't be doing it underneath though, so let's just see if I can see what spaces it's using to highlight it. So all of the ones below. So I believe just it's the offsets in the wrong place, that's all. Cool that that's working though. So have a look at this code quickly. Would it be the other way around? Would it potentially be minus the center and then plus the origin? Would that be it? Would that be it? I guess I wouldn't need to be adding this in right now. Sorry, not the X, the origin position. Although saying that, no, I would. Yeah, let's undo that quick. Might be that it's the other way around. Might be a. I don't know. Let me think about it. So we want to know. Let's get paint up. That's never failed me. I do want to get the board cam working again at some point, so I can do stuff on the whiteboard. But the setup that I had for that was really, really ghetto before. Yeah, so let's take the grid. Let's just do it in 2D, so it's simpler. So we had. But yeah, let's say we had. When I get there. We had something here. Be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3. So we have 5, 3. We would want to know. Let's say its origin. This was its bounding box, and its origin was here. We would want to place it at the center here. So we would take this position. And I guess I would just say plus. Yeah, I guess it is just plus the origin amount. The issue with that is, though, I'm getting my wires crossed now, so let me think about this a bit more. So, the origins that we have are just an offset, right? So they allow us to know where the center of our object is within our space. For now, I'll keep it simple. I will remove one of these. In fact, we don't need this entire section for now. Not while it's at this stage. I think there's some more kind of maths that needs to go into it to do with sizing of the box and stuff like that. So for now, I'm just going to pretend this doesn't exist and just use the origin point. Because ultimately, it's not actually important. I just needed the highlight in there. So yeah, let's do that. So we'll compile that again. The tree is not working again. It's because the offset's being applied incorrectly. Let's go into the prop controller. Can't believe I'm getting tired already. Right, so here's probably one of them. I think it's in spawn in new prop. So yeah, we're wanting to take away the origin, which in this case should be 0, but it might not actually be 0. So let me just double check that. That one is not what it should be. Neither are any of these. There we go. That makes a lot more sense now. So fix this, should have fixed the highlighting that we've got going in the debug mode. So let's just give this a play. Wait 1 second, just need to check something. Okay. Yep, so that's working. The only thing that isn't currently is there's an offset applied, which I need to fix. It is the right height, it just needs placing a bit higher, that's it. So currently it's centered around this point. I believe what I need to do is take the... I need to add the origin divided by 2, I think. So I need it to be 2 higher. I know that won't make any sense either, actually. Maybe it's the width? No, that won't make any sense. Oh, it's from actual center, so it's the world. Need to add the box width, sorry, box height divided by 2, which would be the center, taken away from origin. Sorry, the origin will then be taken away from that. So let's add that in now. That's a bit confusing, but I'll explain what I mean as I go along. So we were kind of on the right track here, actually, I think. I just didn't quite do it right. So what I want to do, it might have actually been this code, it might have just been the other way around. So let's add that minus that. This might also need dividing by 2 as well. Or does it? Let's just double check. So this would mean the width divided by 2, which would end up being 2, I think. Plus the origin, which would be 1. So I actually want it to cancel out. So maybe I need to round down in that case. But we're essentially on the right line, so let me just see if it works for the z-axis, and then I can make a decision on whether or not I need to round that. So let's add to there, take away from here. Same again, take away. So we're adding the object height divided by 2, which works out at 4 rounded up. Well, it's actually 3.5, and then plus the origin, the Z origin, which is 0. No, I don't think that's enough. Or rather, it's too much. Let's just double check. If we were adding 3 or 4 to the height, maybe that makes sense actually. Let's just double check it. Just to say as well, if you are in chat and you want to ask any questions or know more about what it is that I'm doing, then feel free to, and I'll answer whatever it is that you want to know. Or even if you're just curious about what I'm doing. Like, it's great that I've had more engagement today actually, I've been really happy with that. Oh, so it's gone in the wrong direction by accident. I think we're on the right lines though. I think we need to take away the product of this calculation. So if we do minus and then wrap that in brackets, give this a go. I'm just kind of clutching at straws here. I can't actually work out the maths in my head what it would be. I know it's probably something relatively simple, but my brain's gotten to the point where it just isn't working now. If anyone in chat has any suggestions, let me know, and I will implement it that way. Let's give this a go. What have I done? Have I missed a bracket or something? Oh, there we go. Compile this. I think I'm on the right lines now. Yeah, I think that works. I like to think that it works anyway, hopefully it does. The only thing I've not taken into account is the object width and height, but it's not really something I'm that asked about, to be quite honest. I guess I could add that in. It wouldn't be too difficult, and it is something that I want to add in the future anyway, so why not, right? So this is going to be kind of a bit complicated, I think, but we need an x, y, z increment to loop through the collision boundaries of the box. Finding the min and max ranges for each. And then applying that. So, what do you think? So yeah, we're going to need int min x, int, to actually close that off, there we go, max x, and then same again for y and z. There we go. Don't know what happened there. There we go. And now we need to find a way to set these. So I think what I'm going to do is use my looping system again that I've used previously. Let's grab that from somewhere. Mine here, I don't think. Probably I've used it somewhere in this. No, I used it in the other class. Let's go grab that. So we're just using one of these. It's just simple triple nested for loop. I mean, I say simple. I mean it's It is once you understand them. If you've not used three-dimensional arrays before, it can be a bit confusing, but it's not actually too bad, to be honest. So what we want to do now is we want to go to props, dot prop data storage. We want to access the object ID that we're currently looking at, so we're basically just trying to find the current object within this if statement, and then we're saying we want the what is it? The collision volume. Sorry, my brain had a bit of a moment there. Let's try that. So we want the collision volume, we want max width, sorry no, x increment, y increment, and z increment. So we're just looping through each of the places in our collision volume that tells the prop where it occupies in world space, or rather in its own prop space if you're familiar with those kinds of terms. So it just means relative to itself. And we're wanting to see basically what it's equal to. So we'll have to do it for each of these boundaries. We want to test it against the min, max for x, y and z. Let's think about how to do this. So first of all, of course, we want to check the x. So if this dot yeah, so first of all we basically just need to see if this is true, then we want to perform actions on it. And this is where we start comparing the x increment, y increment, z increment, basically just compare them against each other. I believe it's just a series of if statements, really. There's not much else to it. So if the xinc is less than x, so what we'll do is we'll set these initially to the max boundary, so we're setting it to the extremes. Yeah, so this will be the max object width. This will be 0. So basically what this allows us to do is it allows it to force check these statements, and if there is no if there are no occupied spaces within these objects anyway, they won't even be acted upon in the first place, so it won't make the collision boundary massive in those cases. Okay, so basically we just want to say if the if the min x is less than the x increment, then we set the min x to be the x increment. I believe. So let me just see if this makes sense in my head. So let's say we start off with 3 or whatever it is, we have 1 in space 0. Oh no, it would be the other way around, wouldn't it? Yeah. So the x increment 0 is less than min x, which it would be because it's the maximum size, because it would be 3. Then we'll set the minimum x to be whatever the current x increment is. And then obviously if that loops up to 1, the min x would be then set to 0, so it wouldn't be less than that. We don't set it again. Awesome, I think that works. So we basically now do the same thing but for every condition. So I will just copy this 3 times for the min range. Z, Y, Z, Y, Z again. And then we want to add this same kind of condition system in, but for the max. So let's put max in there. Let's just test this on the x just to make sure that we've got the logic right on here. To set the max variable this time. So in terms of getting the range, we want to be able to, well, it would start off as 0, so the x increment would be 0 at the start, and it would be 0 here, so we wouldn't do an assignment. But then say we go on to the next one, there's 1 in position 1. The max x would be set to 0, so it would set the max x to whatever the increment is. So yeah, that works, I think. So I'll just copy this in. There might be conditions in which we don't actually need to do all of these, but I can't think of what those conditions are, so it might be more efficient to do it a slightly different way, but for now it works, or it should work anyway, so I won't worry too much about it. If I need to come back in and optimise this at any point, I will do. But to be honest, it's not a major part of code, so it's not a performance heavy operation or anything like that. Let's just make sure all of these are updated properly. So that's all Z's, that's all Y's, that's all X's. Let's just double check that's increment, min max, min max, min max, min max, min max, min max, increment, increment. Yeah, okay, so that's fine. So now we have the minimum maximum boundaries. It's a shame we can't. It's a shame we can't set the borders for those. Because I'll have to find the origin of the object and then add the range to it. Maybe I've been going about the origin part all wrong, actually, with the debug box, because we're not actually wanting the origin of the object, because we don't technically care about it. I can't add that in as an additional thing, though. There's like a draw debug ball or something that I used before, which was quite useful. I can't remember where that is. It was somewhere. Let's see if I've got it here. So let's find it. Draw debug box. Don't want that. Don't want that. Let's go the other way. And next. Box, box, box. There's a draw debug like circle or something. So if I do Sorry, not in here. Where is it? Here we go. Draw, debug. Want to draw a debug sphere? Right, sorry for the music in the background. I think my flatmate's playing music really loud. Might just have to go sort that out in a second. Bear with me just one moment. Right, I will be right back. I just need to go tell my housemate to go like turn his music down. Back in a second. Okay, so I'm back. Dealt with the potential copyright issue. Oh. Okay, had loads of things stacking on top of each other. Right, so what was I doing? So basically I want to draw this debug sphere thing. There we go, can't talk properly. Inserts on. Can't remember the parameter it takes, but it's pretty much the same as the other one. Obviously just without all of this crap that I've got in here currently. Yeah, so I need to work out what the fuck's going on basically. I think it takes an integer here rather than an effector. Oh no, it actually seems to like that. No, it doesn't. What's this one that it's high? Radius. Yeah, this is the radius, so I will just convert that to... let's just give it a radius of 25. No doubt these are also in the wrong place, these parameters, because it's slightly different. Int 32 segments, so that's the number of segments it wants, I imagine. Let's keep it simple, we don't need loads, it could even be 4 for all I know. I believe this is still the origin, this one here, let me just double check that. Yeah, that's the center, so we can leave that code the same for now and just refactor it for both of these in a second. So let's try that. Let's compile this. So basically just need a bunch of useful variables for how do I explain it? A bunch of useful variables for getting the center of my bounding box, my highlighting box, because it's not going to just be the origin of the shape, not going to be the defined collision origin, it's going to be a mixture of the min and max boundaries that we have, as well as an offset in either direction. It's kind of confusing to be honest, but I'll explain it hopefully and get there eventually. So let's get the highlighting. I want to be able to see sphere, so let's try that one. There we go. I need to draw that a bit bigger actually, but essentially this debug sphere shows me the origin point. Obviously we need to set that to be the actual origin point without the offset on it, so what I will do is get the, I believe it's the origin X and Y. We've already got part of that in there, so if I just get rid of it up to that point, get rid of all this crap basically. Same here again, just get rid of all this shit that we don't need. Okay, and then fill this in. So this should give us a nice kind of center highlight for the object. Let's set these to Y and Z, obviously. Again, if anyone's in chat and you have any questions or want me to try anything or have any suggestions for what I'm doing, then just let me know. Okay, so let's see if this works. Should do. Can't see why it wouldn't. I don't think I'll be able to see it with this one, but I might be able to. No. Let's try it with, again, the rock. No, it's still showing in the wrong place. I also still need to investigate this weird bug where it allows me to highlight the above one as well, because I have not defined that in code and I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second while I reply to a message. So yeah, I was just speaking to Josh actually. I've just updated him on all of the features that I'm getting working currently. One thing that we're trying to do this week is we're basically trying to get our workflows to now mesh together. So we've been working relatively separately up to this point. But I will be working on getting all of our tasks converted over to some project management software. That might be Jira, or basically something that equates to Jira, or something that people are more familiar with is Trello. I need proper time management functionality as a part of that, which is why I'm very, very reluctant to use Trello at this point. If I can get some nice plugins for Trello, I might use it, but unless I can do that, then I'm not going to. So what I will do instead is look at using Jira, and then once that's done, he's also going to try and get what's it called, Bitbucket working, which is essentially just GitHub integrations, so that we can update the project between each other, so he can work on it, I wouldn't say simultaneously, but he can work on it at kind of the same time as me. And then I'll be able to update the features as we go along. He'll be able to add content, and then we'll be able to work collaboratively in that sense. And eventually the goal is to have you guys vote on feature requests that either are submitted by you or submitted by ourselves, and then I will implement those directly on stream. That's kind of the plan. So long term, like, stuff should be really interesting, and hopefully over the next few weeks things will really pick up steam. And it'll be really exciting as well to get community interactions in there. So the object origin, I don't think it'll actually be... It won't be X origin, it'll be something similar to this equation that I've got, to be honest, so I deleted all that crap for nothing. Let's put that back in. So we've got this data related to the origin of the object. We actually want it to be kind of similar to this, but without the... I don't remember which way round it would be. I think it's the other way round this time, so I think we want to find the center of the object and then find the origin of that. So this might be plus instead of minus, so we'll give that a go. If I'm not mistaken, anyway. I think I deleted it on the top bit, so I'll just copy and paste that back in. So this should be X. This should be X origin. I have spent a lot of time on this feature, by the way, I'm aware of that. I will try and move on as quickly as I can. I don't want to be stuck on this for too long. Not only is it not fun for me, I know it's not fun for you guys either, so we'll get this wrapped up, at least in a simple implementation for now, as fast as possible. And if I don't make much progress, I'll move on to something else for a bit. What I've just done. Right, so this might be working now, potentially, but it's hard to see because the shape is inside it. I will increase the diameter of the radius of the sphere. Just remember which one that is. I think it's this one. Increase that to 50. So this should take up 2 voxel volumes in height now, so I should be able to see it. Let's give this a go. Let's go straight into prop mode. This number 3. Can't see that anywhere, so I don't know if it's working. Just got a glimpse of something. I don't know if it is. No, I don't think this is working properly. I'm curious to know why it was working before, because I was just feeding it the X, Y, and Z origin, which isn't actually... Well, all that is relative to... It's like relative to the object itself, so it shouldn't have even worked, which is really strange. Unless this is displaying under the world, actually. Okay, let me just double check. I'd be displaying underneath the object. So if I go into prop mode, surface placement, place, I don't know. Yeah, it's placing underneath. So it's not quite what I wanted it to do, to be honest. Let's rethink this a little bit. So we're starting off with the object. We have the object origin, which we know. Oh, we have just access to the XYZ. Why am I overthinking this so much? Oh no, I'm not. Sorry, I'm just confusing myself now. So we have the XYZ, we have the width. So we want to find the center point of the width, which we have done. And then take it away from... We want to... So yeah, we have X. Let's say we have... So we want to add the max object width and then take away this one, I think. I think that's what we need to do. Or it's the other way around. It's one of these, but we don't want it bracketed, I think. So let me just convert. Right, let's copy this across quickly. I do wish I was slightly better at the kind of mental maths portion of doing this programming, because I kind of understand the logic. It's just I always trip myself up with simple things, which is not great, obviously. But at least I'm making progress, and I always test things rather thoroughly as well, so I'll kind of make up for it. I think that's correct, or it's the other way around. It's one of these. It's one minus the other. I can't remember which one it is. We found the sun. Right, which basically I'm going to refactor all of this code anyway to have more manageable variables, so I will leave that as is. It doesn't do really what I wanted it to, but it does highlight the center of the bounding box, which I guess is something. I will fix that at some point. Hopefully I can make that work. So one feature I wanted to get done is multiple object highlighting. That's what I'll move on to for a bit, and then I'll look at refactoring afterwards. So this is a bit of a change of pace, and it's something that might not actually be too complicated, but I have to update quite a few areas of code to get it working. So we go into the header to sorry, got a bit tongue twisted there. The header for prop controller. we are wanting to make we're basically wanting to add in lists of integers rather than just having an array of ints in here. So we're having an array of lists which contain integers. So what we'll be doing is I will just get the list documentation up on the side because I can never remember the syntax or what header file it's in, but I know how to use it. So I'll just bring that up quickly. For some reason the site can't be reached. Great. Let's try this. So it is in this containers library. Doesn't really tell me what the header file is. Oh, sorry, it does. Header list. That's all we need. So if I go up here, I've got queues already. So hashtag include list. There we go. Let me just remind myself of the syntax for this. So I think it's just, you just literally write list and then the thing that you're wanting. So std list int, yeah, that's fine. So you just use the int template. I don't believe I'm using I am using a namespace std, that's great. So we'll convert this over to list. There we go. So it's a template now. Now this will break many things in the code, but now we're just going to convert over each part where it doesn't work anymore, basically. Hopefully it'll highlight. So we need to wrap a lot of these functions inside of for loops that iterate through each of the list instances. So this one instead would be something like empty. So if there's nothing in here, I'm not sure if that's a function, might be. So if that space is empty, then we want to do that. Let's update, go through each of the code areas first. Begin play is always broken, so we'll ignore that. We clear. Yep. So rather than assigning them to -1, we're clearing the list instead. We'll scroll a bit further down. So there's this here, which is setting the prop reference IDs again. Not entirely sure why I set this here. Actually, I don't think I did. I'll tell you what I was doing. I think I was setting this in the wrong place. What I actually wanted to set was each of the boundaries for. Alright, so I've got to the point in the stream now where my brain's not working and I can't talk, apparently. So to start again, I want to reset all of the occupying space booleans that I have so far in each of the prop data storage spaces. So I actually need a second set of 3 nested for statements to reset all of those. So if I get rid of this outer one, which isn't necessary, I don't know why I put that in, probably just wasn't thinking properly. Copy this section. In fact, I'll just copy the whole thing, might as well. Nest it inside of here in place of this. Change these to, I guess I could call it Oh no, actually, sorry, I had it set up correctly, but I just wasn't using it right. So yeah, so this is set up properly. Sorry about that. So what I will do is instead put that outside because I don't need to set it for every single thing, so that can go in there. And this is the thing that needs changing. So this is its prop. What would it be? Prop collisions. Prop data storage, and then dot collision volume. That's what I want to set. So setting the collision volume for that. Looks great. Let's scroll down again. Tick's always broken, so we can ignore that. Spawn in new prop. I think this is the line that will break because we can't set an individual thing. Instead, we need to add to this list. So it'll be like I can't remember which one it is. It'll probably just be place or insert or something. We want to push onto, well, this is our list, so we want to push onto the back. I'm just seeing if there's a more efficient one. Don't think. Can we just do push actually? I'm not sure if push is something. So we'll push back. And then we'll add this integer. Push that on there. And then for deleting a prop, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated because we need to remember what the ID is of the position that it's in the list. That being said, actually, we're providing it with yeah, so we need another variable in here. Sorry about that. So we'll do what would it be called? So int prop reference ID list pos. So it's a bit wordy, but at least I know what it means. Because it kind of needs to be as descriptive as possible, otherwise I'll completely forget what that's supposed to be. Although lists get resized, don't they? So if I remove, yeah, that's a big issue. The ID will eventually change, actually, so I guess I have to update everything after it as well. That's a bit of a nightmare. So what I'm thinking currently is every object that's part of a list will have this ID telling it where in the list it is. However, Oh no, what am I on about? I'm completely overcomplicating this. I don't need it at all. Because we already have the ID in the list, so we can just look for it and remove it. My brain's still kind of stuck in like the mode where I'm doing stuff with other... So we need a for loop. Int of size, we'll just have an increment. The size will be the length of the list in whatever position it is that we're looking at. So it'll be this amount here. A bit of a lengthy thing to have in there, but sure, whatever, it works. I think. Oh, I need to return to size. There we go. So we're returning the size for the size of this, loop through. If the thing that's returned from this or is it just adding an extra thing on it? I think you can use that as like an incrementer, right? Or is there a get? Or a value? Whatever it is, insert, merge, operator. Just want to read it. What's it called? We're looking at the prop preference ID list. We just need to increment through them. Why can I not just add another thing on the end there? Is it at pos? Can I only read from the back and the front in the list? Probably not. I must be doing something wrong here. Been a while since I've used lists properly. Don't actually tend to use them a lot, so I prefer to use arrays for like game objects and game object data, simply because they're more efficient when it comes to saving and loading, but for stuff like this it's alright. Since we're only doing them kind of once every few frames, it's like with the voxel system I could not use lists because they'd be too slow. Which sounds silly given how simple of a structure it is, but when you're dealing with thousands of objects, that kind of performance cost of using a list versus an array is actually quite massive. One, two, three. I should be able to increment through the list and have a look, right? Surely. Well, anyway, what we're doing is, we'll fix that in a second, we're comparing it against prop instance ID. If we found it, then we simply want to remove at that position. So again, we're copying this entire bit of code, which is quite long. Should probably refactor these variables. I will do that at some point. Come on. There we go. And then this should take an int, which is I. So I'm thinking there's like a get function or something, surely. Not get allocator, I don't. Just want to read at position. Sorry, I'll bring up my research tab again. Oh, I've already got one apparently. This is annoying. Okay, so apparently list is not good for my use case here. I can't remember what the difference between vector versus list is. I believe I need to use a vector. Might need to use vector. Yeah, so we'll use vector instead. So I believe if it's using the same library, I should be able to just change that to vector. That should be okay. And this as well should just be changeable to vector, please. Yep. But then obviously I'll need to update certain parts of the code, I think, once this catches up. Unless vector has the same functions. So So what functions do I have? See what the vector resize does in C++, just to make sure I'm doing it properly. I want to know what arrays does as well. Okay, so that reduces the container size. Yeah, that's great. That's actually what I want. So, into arrays, and then put the incrementer in there. Why is it not like that? Hello? I'm guessing I need to do that. And then a function call, I think. Does arrays take any variables? That should work, should it not? Let's look up how to use that quickly, just see if I've missed anything. Do I need to put begin in there? Oh, my music's stopped. Oh no, it isn't. There we go. I'm curious to know why it needs the begin in there. I think that's probably just like a memory location thing, so it doesn't actually have a relative increment. Yeah, this one does it. Yeah, so this should do the thing that I want it to. I think. Not sure why it isn't. Maybe it does just need begin. Let's just put it in there, why not? Oh, it means I have to have the whole thing again though, which is annoying. Let's put that in, the entire thing again. Dot begin plus I. Right, so it should like that now. That should be fine. So I'm erasing that component of. We also need to rewrite part of how this works. So we passed in a prop instance ID here. I can't remember where the delete prop thing is called, but I think it's in editor camera. So if we go back up to our editor camera and go and find the delete section for here, for deleting props. Find prop from voxel location needs updating. So this should be find props from voxel location, so rename that. And it will return a list. Sorry, a vector. This will return a vector. And then from that we need to iterate over it. So in here, I guess we can use a list actually, that's fine. Yeah, we'll use a list for this one. So I'll include a list here. Means also including a list in this as well. We're including a list, and then we want to redefine this to find props, and then it will be a list of int that it will return. Just update the definition quickly, find props, then list int. There we go. So bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to go to the toilet quickly, won't be long. There we go, I'm back, just a quick break. Right, so back to where we were before. So we want to find props from voxel locations. So what we are doing is we're returning the list instead. So how do we add? I guess if it's already a vector, we can just return the vector actually. That makes more sense. I don't think we can convert vector to a list very easily without doing it manually, and that just means more processing overhead that I didn't actually think about. So let's redefine this to vector instead. And then we're only using one data type, makes it a lot easier. Remove the include, don't need that. Change this definition. No, sorry, that stays the same. Sorry, I removed the wrong thing. I want to remove list, not that one. There we go, that's all fine. Change the definition in here to vector. I think if it'll catch up. Yep, there we go. Did I change the definition? Yeah. Then if I can do list.empty. Sorry, empty vector. Return an empty vector. I'm just researching this on the side. Oh, same as other stuff. I don't even know why I didn't think to check that. But sorry. The exact same. The wrong bloody thing in there. Would actually help if I put the full definition in. There we go. So then back in editor here, what we're going to do is convert over. So this system now needs to loop over each one. We will call this vector props. This will be a vector int. Call it prop IDs actually, makes more sense. Then we'll make that equal to that. Oh, and it's props. There we go. And then we'll get rid of this line, don't need this anymore. Then we'll do prop IDs dot length, if there is one, or size maybe. There we go, size. And then we know that it's going to be occupied because we'll have removed it otherwise. So just do that. It's not how you lay out a bloody for loop. I is less than size. I plus plus. And then we want to use prop IDs I instead. Convert that over. There we go. So now we're finding one of many IDs rather than those. Right, hopefully, all that being said, we've just converted over a lot of code, so hopefully that works. Oh, this also needs updating as well, actually, this highlight thing, which is a bit annoying, but we basically just need to do the same thing. So, in fact, I'll pretty much copy that if I can, wherever it was. Here we go. Copy all of this inside of that. Is it up to that point? Why is there an extra? Oh, it's part of the if wrapper, right, include that as well. You don't want to delete prop inside of there, we want to highlight it, so object ID just literally is equal to prop IDs and then the element that we're at, so the I, and then we'll just highlight that. So there's a lot going on there. We've just updated a lot of code. There could be a lot of points of failure, and I'm trying to be optimistic, but there could be many areas that have just broken, so we'll try that. Now, the whole point of this is, in theory, we can overlap objects and get multiple highlights if we hover over them. God knows if it'll work. I might have just broken everything, I have no idea. So we'll have to test it. Of course, there's a compile fail. What have we done? Oh, equals 0. Makes sense. And then go back down here. Problem with writing these by hand. I wish it initialised them to 0 automatically. I don't know why it doesn't, but whatever. Again, if anyone has any questions or suggestions, or they've noticed anything that I've done wrong in my code, just let me know and I'll be happy to either try something or have a chat with you guys. Okay, let's try placing some things. So the highlighting still works, removing still works. It's kind of a miracle, actually. Let's try placing two objects inside of each other. Does it remove both? No, but now this is broken. Okay. Something's not quite right there. Might be to do with the way I'm spawning them in, actually. So let's go to the spawn. I can't remember if I updated the spawning prop thing properly. To add to the list rather than just change the value. Is it prop reference IDs? We're pushing back. Maybe it's not pushed back. Maybe we want to use something. That's what we had before, wasn't it? Push back. Yeah. So we are adding it. Seems like it's not recompiled, actually. I would have expected it not to do that, because that was behaviour we were getting before, so let's just try rebuilding that just in case. Was surprisingly quick given how much code we changed. Oh, it is working, so it didn't recompile. Okay, so I actually think it's working, which is surprising. Nice. It must not have just recompiled then, and it's deleting both, which is awesome. That's exactly what I wanted it to do. Sick. Like, that is actually really cool. That's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to get. That isn't quite right though, this stuff. Shouldn't be highlighting these as within the bounds of the... Yeah, I think it's not cleaning those up properly, those references. So I just need to double check the deleting part. Be in the delete prop section. What am I doing here? Arrays begin plus I. I think it's erasing them from the list properly. Let's test that some more. Just see if I can work out what exactly is going on. So we have a tree. We have another tree, move it, place another one in. Just the entire box, it shouldn't be. Why is it that it's... Only for new trees. Really weird, but some of them are not like that. Only for... Oh, I think I know what I'm not doing properly. I think on delete I'm actually resetting first instance. Thinkalum, making a game engine. So yeah, I am. So within Unreal, what I'm essentially doing is building a game engine for a project that me and my business partner want to work on. That is based on the idea of kind of complete customizability of the terrain and the setup and everything. Kind of a bit like, I don't know, think like a very simplified Dungeons and Dragons experience where you can place multiple things in a scene. Kind of similar to Minecraft, but with an editor. So you wanted to, I don't know, make a complete dungeon raid and have loads of enemies, you could place those in. If you wanted to make a forest scene with lots of animals in that interact with each other in an ecosystem, you could place those in. And you can kind of create your own experiences, but we want to package up with this set of tools a predefined experience that ships with the game, but we also want to expose this editor to the users in the end product, basically, if that explains kind of the rough gist of everything. So I've not actually shown these off recently, so I'll just show them off quickly now for you. So for anyone that's new, you can actually place in voxels with this paintbrush tool. It's a little bit laggy at the moment, so I need to optimize it later on, but yeah, you can basically paint landscapes, and I'm currently just working on the prop portion of this. And of course you can remove them as well, so I could make a burrow if I really wanted to. and it'll automatically smooth these blocks out. So we have these kind of predefined shapes, and the engine will recompute those around your brush strokes. You can turn that feature off though if you want, so I can't remember the toggle button for it. I think it's that. If you want, you can just have cubes, or if you don't want it to smooth anything out, you just turn it off. So you literally could play it like Minecraft if you really wanted to. You know, we can configure this so that it's just voxels actually. And if we wanted to, I think the engine has code to increase the height of these blocks. Yeah, we can turn smoothing back on. It'll smooth it out and connect it with the existing ones. So with the editor, you really have a lot of flexibility. I have yet to implement a mode where you can select the exact shape, but it works in the engine. So say if you wanted to spawn in a bunch of ramps in a particular shape for whatever reason, that is a feature that I can do in code. It's just not in the editor just yet, because we want to build the UI for that first and apply that UI to all of our selection options, from brush size to material type to shape type. So that's the kind of direction we're going in. Currently, I have, I think, something saved. Let's see if I can save it. So it will take a while to catch up, so it's got to recompute all of the voxels in the scene. And it does take ages. This is something that I'm looking to speed up at some point. But yeah, I've just loaded in a preset which I've made now, and it will reset the world to that preset. It just takes a while to catch up on the voxel side. So just give it a minute and it will do that. It looks quite cool actually watching it do this. It just takes a while to do. So all of these features that I've kind of got on the code side, I will be kind of packaging up in a nice UI, and then obviously over time we'll be polishing these, making them kind of user-friendly, and then this will be packaged with the final game. So, oh, thanks for the follow, man. Means a lot. But yeah, all of this stuff is basically stuff that we're going to be incrementally improving as we go along. We hope to have a working release by September with some content. We may be a bit after that, but AI should be in at that point, which would be really exciting. If not, we'll just release it as a really, really polished level editor. So, see how that goes. It is a little bit. It is a little bit like one of those most satisfying videos, yeah. And yes, estimates are kind of scary. So obviously, I could sit here and promise that we'll get loads of features in by X date. And normally my estimates are not too off, but AI is a monumental feature to work on, and obviously we don't know yet what that's going to look like. So. I'm not sure why the first item of the list isn't working properly. I think it's this one, actually. None of the others seem to do it. It's just the first item in the list seems to have highlighting issues. God knows why. These don't. It's really weird. And it's only when they're getting spawned in as well, which I find even more bizarre. Can't for the life of me work out why that is. It might be in the initialization step. So let's have a look. In the prop controller, it'll be in. Let's have a look. Load prop states. No, not that one. Begin play. Here we go. Prop reference IDs. Oh, this should be set to false, not -1. There we go. That's weird. Anyway, let's try this out. Let's wait for this to load back in. I think I just fixed it somehow. Really weird object behavior going on there, though. To be honest. No idea why it was doing that. I don't know what it is about setting it to -1, but apparently that ain't what you're supposed to do. But yeah, it all seems to be working relatively well at this point, which is fucking awesome. So I've been working on this for ages. One feature that has been requested by other Josh is he's wanted me to be able to implement large brushes of props at some point, but to be quite honest, I have no idea how to go about that just yet, and it's quite a large feature in and of itself, so I will wait until I've moved on to the project planning stage of this project, which is where we're converting all of our tasks over to something like Jira, to work more thoroughly on those features that are kind of the slightly bigger ones that aren't essential, but would be kind of nice quality of life improvements. So let's say if it becomes a requested feature that the community's like, yes, we really want this, then obviously I will look into adding that in and make it kind of more of a priority at that stage. But we would like to get more base features in so that every system in the game is up and running before looking at the kind of small, well, I wouldn't say they're small, but some of the larger quality of life improvements. Small ones I can add as I go along, like these bounding boxes I've added in. Just because it really helps show you what the fuck it is you're looking at, because sometimes you have no idea, you don't know what you're highlighting, but this is super helpful. So yeah, so what we'll do as well is I want to look at refactoring this bounding box code so that it actually conforms to the object. It's not essential, but it would be useful. So let's go through, let's close these other tabs because we no longer need them. Let's find where the editor camera was. Here we go, highlight prop. So this is the thing that I need to be refactoring basically. So we have these min and maxes now. What I think I'll do is I will convert these min and maxes over to world space first. And then from that I can come up with some actual usable kind of bounding box information. So let's work this out. So we've got the origin of the object itself, where it's spawned in at. So we need to offset those based on that. So we need to take away we do some quick mental maths, let's say we have a box that is like this and the origin is considered to be here. What my guess is that we need to take away the origin. So I also want so I'll call it world min-max. These will be ints. Yeah, think of them. If you have any more like questions like that, then fire away, man. I'd be happy to answer any queries you have, or like anything that you're interested in, or you want to know if something's being added, something like that. Because at the end of the day, I'm like really trying to just get people's opinions on this and like see what people think of it, if they think it's cool, if it's a waste of time. Yeah, let me know if there's anything that you want to add. Or even if there's anything that you want to see, or any code you want to look at, I can show you code as well. Sorry, just bear with me, I'm just thinking about what calculations to do on this here. Static map for tabletop campaign. Yeah, so interestingly enough, actually, that's something that we considered, and it honestly would be really sick if we had like a mode that was kind of like you could use the editor to kind of update character positions and stuff like that, and maybe simulate it for a certain amount of time. So maybe what I'm thinking is, actually, based on your suggestion, this would be really cool. We could have because we're planning on having a simulated mode anyway, which is the play mode of the game. So you set it up in the editor, and then just you can run it at any point. So you can run it either in the editor or in the game player from scratch. But then we also want people to be able to save game states and then edit them as well. So one feature that wouldn't be too far-fetched, I don't think, would be to add a mode where you set maybe properties or like upcoming actions for characters or priorities, and then you press the play mode and it simulates that for however long, and then it pauses at the end of that, and then you reset up your turns. So it could be like you say, like a tabletop kind of simulation where each player makes their own decisions about what the character's going to do next, and then that character kind of actions it out in this fully simulated environment. I think that'd be really cool, with AI like doing its own thing in real time. So everything on the map is simulated, but you're only controlling one portion of the game. I would have to think more about that, because it would probably involve a lot of like wrapping it up as a package and like a lot of UI and rules and marketing and whatever else. But that's a really cool idea, actually. I really like that. So thanks for the suggestion. You know, if you think you'd be interested in seeing that kind of thing, definitely, like, you know, keep an eye on this space, and if it's something that's requested repeatedly, I'll definitely look into doing it. Just, we're kind of getting the fundamentals in place at this stage. But it is a super interesting idea, I like it. Sorry, right, I'm losing my train of thought. So what am I doing? So I need to get the X position. So prop state storage, object ID X. So this is looking at the nth object in the props list. So we want the X position, then we want to minus the min X. My brain's starting to get a bit slow again, but it'll try and pick up the pace again now. So I'm pretty sure we're just doing the same thing for each of these, so we're just basically saying that we want it to equal this minus the origin offset. So if we had the origin, say, in a different space, we could do. Would it be different from the max? I don't think so. Anyway, so that's times 100. So it's the world width. I should probably update the definitions in here as well, actually, to have the voxel dimensions again. It's just something that's kind of quality of life that I should be implementing. I just haven't been so far. I've literally just lost where I was. Prop controller. Oh, it was in the editor, wasn't it? Here we go. Times 100. I think it's pretty much the same for all of these values because we're just literally applying an offset. So I'll just add that in. Obviously we need to change what axis we're working on for each of these. Change these to Y, change this to Z. Also need to change this dimension to 50 because the blocks are half height in that direction. So this is the world min max. What am I doing here? This needs to happen after the for loop takes place. That could have been an annoying thing to debug if I hadn't remembered to have done that. So right, so from this point we want to somehow add this back in. So we now have the boundaries for our box, so it probably makes sense that we want to find the actual dead center of the two. So we need to add them together, divided by 2. So if we have something called box width. I appreciate we're creating a lot of variables here, it probably seems unnecessary, but this just helps me kind of visualize what's going on. Call it bounds width x. Same for the y and z. And then all we're really doing is adding the minimax together, and then I believe anyway. Make it a bit easier if they're ordered that way around. And then we're dividing the whole thing by 2. Also give me the centre of the bounding box regardless of where the actual origin is of the shape. So this is the origin of the bounding box itself, which is useful for the debug box. And then we basically just need to do the same for the other two. There we go. So now we have a center position. Sorry, this isn't even the width. This is the origin. I don't know what I'm saying here. So this is the bound center. So I'll call this the center instead. The bound's width is something completely different. Copy this. So what we want to do is add, I'm trying to think of what the quickest way to do it is. -1 from the other, I think. Minus max from min. Or is it max from min? Yeah, it'll be max from min. Otherwise we'll get a negative number, we don't want that. I guess it would technically work either way, but still, we don't want it to be applied in the wrong place. So copy all of this again, and then we'll update it for the y, z, y, z. Double check this makes sense. So if this was 100 minus 50, that would give us a width of 50. Yeah, that's correct. So we actually know the width of the box. We know whether it is in the center, and we also know the world min. So this sphere is something that's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass to work out, but the debug box is actually relatively simple, I think, and we can clean up a lot of this nasty code that we've got here. So let's go and delete literally everything. So we want this is the bound center, right? So just taking each of these, putting them in there. Fairly straightforward. And then this is the bit that we now can replace with this, but we might need to divide it by 2. divide this by 2 here. Just do that for formatting. So I think this one should work now. So let's give this a compile, see if all of the code changes that we've just made actually amount to anything at all. Could just break, we'll see. Please work. And it's not the width I'm expecting it to be, but at least it's something, I suppose. Right, let's just investigate quickly why that's not how it's supposed to be. So we are iterating through. I mean, it might not have compiled properly, actually. Sometimes it doesn't quite update in time, so let's just recompile that just in case. It's driven me nuts before because I've thought I've done something completely wrong, and it hasn't actually been my code, it's been the bloody compiler not working properly. Give this a quick compile. Yeah, because this is compiling a lot longer than it was before. Right, so this should have actually reflected the code changes now. It didn't seem to be doing it before, but it should definitely now. I don't think it's highlighting anything at the moment. I can see a point, but hang on. There's a little dot here. There's a tiny little dot, so it seems to be shifting the min max to the wrong places. Let me think. So it seems to be setting the max to 0, which isn't what we want. Let's just double check the max variables here. So if there's a prop space active, yeah, math is a pain in the ass. Right, so it might not even be math actually, it might be a logic issue that I've got. Either the math's wrong or this nested for loop that I've got going on is wrong. So currently my min and max are 0. Well, actually technically the min is the maximum object width, but so presumably the min's getting set incorrectly, as is the max. So so we're looking at the current object that we have selected. We're looking at its collision volume in that position. We're saying basically, is this place in the collision volume active? If the x increment is less than the x minimum, then we set that. We set it to the x increment. Conversely, if the x increment is more than the max, then we set the max. That should be working, so I presume it's the maths that So let's work slightly backwards now. So we'll start off with the debug box. We're doing the bounds width divided by 2, because that's what it will be in each direction from the center, which is fine. Yeah, so that seems to be good. Let me just double check I've actually got these the right way around in the first place. Yeah, that's center. So the width is the world space max minus the world space min. So the maximum range, which let's say would be like 200 or something, minus the max, which could be 100, you'd get a width of 100. That makes sense, so that's fine. Mentally tick that off. So we're wanting to work out the center of the bounds, so we're adding the min and max together. So 100 plus 200 would be 300, divided by 2 would be 150. Yeah, that's in between the two, that's fine. So it must be this line, or it's still this, and I've not worked out why. So world min x is the x position minus the x minimum. Right. So the x position that I've placed the prop minus the x. We've not done max x, that'll be why. Duh. Well, at least we worked it out anyway. Hopefully this will fix it. Sometimes when you're copy and pasting lots of stuff, it's stuff that gets easily overlooked, which is why you have to kind of double check it. I should have double checked that. Wait for it to compile, and I need to reply to a couple of messages as well. This is taking some time for some reason. Why is this taking so long? I've made like... I don't think I've made that many changes this time around. Doot. Come on. I think this is one of the longest compile times I've had, and I've like changed 3 lines from the last time I compiled. Bit worrying. Just save stuff just in case it dies. Did I just break it? No, it's doing something. There we go. UE4 can be a bit weird sometimes. While that's doing its thing, I might as well do some YouTube work. So I did this last time on stream, just to show you guys kind of our content process, and also to highlight the fact that we're actually on YouTube if you're interested in past live streams. Not that I would recommend it if you're joining us at this point. If you're interested now, then carry on watching from here, but past ones haven't been that great, and also I've not had that much engagement, so while some of the code might be interesting to some of you, what the hell? Why is it doing that? But yeah, sorry, while the code may be interesting to some of you, it's like older features that I've been working on, like getting the brushes to work, the voxel brushes. So if you're more interested in that kind of thing, go check those out. We're on our code. So same, I think, as the Twitch name. We have another podcast scheduled. Actually, I need to re-upload episode 5 because that went up early by accident. Well, not early, but we missed some content because of a business presentation we had to do last week, which we had to work for. I need to get some videos uploaded, so let me just double check those. So go in here, video, live stream. Okay, so we don't actually have any additional in here just yet. There are 3 that need to be uploaded and edited, including this one. So Matthews will, once I've uploaded these, he will do that for me. Yeah, so we're on YouTube as well. Yeah, Matthews will upload these, or he'll get them edited, he'll pass them back to me, I will then upload them to the channel, on top of the additional podcast that needs doing. Which info is pretty much nothing. Yeah, I know. So basically I've not had time really this week to do much admin on the other stuff. But I will, I think, fill that kind of stuff in. It's thanks for bringing that up actually, because it's reminded me that I need to update all of that stuff on the Twitch side. But yeah, our content backlog is all on here. So in fact, I might as well edit that now while I'm waiting for this. I think it's broken. I'm going to recompile because that shouldn't be taking that long. I don't know why it's broken, to be honest. I don't know if it's doing a complete recompile or what, but something just ain't working. Might have to close the project and reopen it. Not sure what's happened there. Yeah, we'll reopen the project, see if that fixes it. Also make sure all of this is saved. Yep, seems to be. Also double check that I have space on my drives as well. That might be the reason it's not working. Yeah, there's plenty of space free on those. Let's rerun this. But yeah, I'll update the channel description stuff. Just need to work out how to do it. Doot. Edit stream info. That ain't the one. Just quickly, because I'm a noob, where would I find the description box stuff? You're also a noob. Fair enough. Might be in the edit panels section. There's a text or image panel I can add actually. I'll do that. Yeah, I found the box to add it. So what I'll do is I'll include all of our links on here. We've got the Twitch channel, we've got the website so far, that needs updating recently though. Might as well bring this over here while I wait for this to load up. Won't hurt. So you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Don't think there's any like sensitive information right on here, so should be alright. We do have an Instagram, it's not really very active, but oh whoops. And great, let's just close the thing I was doing. Don't know what just happened there, to be honest. I must have clicked on something by accident. Let's go back on the Twitch page, there we go. Yeah. Is the project done yet? Yeah, we've got 2 instances open. I'll do that later. Don't want to bore you. Right, here we go. Why have these swapped around? I swear it wasn't like that before. Okay, this will need a fresh recompiler. So actually while that's doing it, I will edit this. So for those interested, I will add these links. We do have, we did have a mixer page, but we're not really active on that. I did try it for a bit. Decided essentially it was crap because nobody uses it and came off pretty quick, to be honest. So yeah, I'll drop these links on here. Probably get some kind of URL shortener at some point. Website. Do the Twitter. Instagram and the Reddit page. Okay. A new panel. What else? I should probably add like a description thing as well, to be honest, so might as well do that. One. And then I can rip straight off the website, so I'll give you a quick glimpse of the website. I feel like that's a fairly accurate description, to be honest, so I'll just copy that straight in. There we go. Oh, compile's finally done. Right, so this is the moment of the truth, thing we've actually been waiting for to happen, so let's see if this officially works now. Chances are it probably doesn't. But something a bit different. It's like tiny, I can see it, but it's mini. Oh, it's tall. I don't know how tall it is exactly. Oh, so it's the right height. Maybe I've not updated the widths correctly. We're doing it in the right directions. This is all X, this is all Y, this is all Z. X, Y, Z, Y, Z, Z. X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. I feel like I've probably not updated it down here. No, it is working. I don't know, does anyone see anything that I don't in chat? Definitely incrementing the right things, aren't I? Let me think. This is kind of the point where I hit a bit of a roadblock, I think. Width, depth and height, they're all the right ones, so that's correct X, X origin, Y, Y origin, that's not even the thing I'm supposed to be looking at. Bound center X, bound center Y, Z. Width. Just start changing random things, yeah I might do. Well, I mean, one thing's for certain anyway. There is something that is slightly off about the way I'm calculating the bounding box anyway, because of where it ends up being placed. So even if the rest of it is incorrect, I know that one thing for certain. So this is actually ending up below rather than above, where it should be. So let me work out what's significant about where it's placed right now. So it's at 0, 0, which is weird. But I don't know why the Z height is working correctly, and also why it's in the position it's in. Maybe I'm like drawing it from the wrong, maybe I'm like drawing it the wrong way around, maybe it's negative, maybe these numbers are negative and they shouldn't be. World max, world min, yeah, that should be fine. Range. I don't know, try to get rid of the divide too, why not? I'll try anything at this point. Try that again. There we go, got some descriptions on there now, that's nice. Let's put that back. So yeah, I think thanks for bringing that up, because now, well, now there's some improvement to the channel, which is good. Okay, getting rid of the double thing was not the right idea. We'll put that back in. I feel like this part is correct, more than likely. I feel like it's probably something to do with this, in all honesty. I think I'm probably doing something slightly wrong. I'm getting tired now actually, I might wrap up soon, even if I can't get this feature solved. And then hopefully when I come back with a fresh set of eyes, things will pop out, but I'll have one last crack at getting this sorted and then I will sign off either way. Anyone in chat see anything? Any suggestions at all? Maybe the answer will appear in a dream, yeah. I have had it before where I've woken up and first thing in the morning I've just thought of the solution to a random problem I was working on the day before. I wasn't even thinking about the code, just popped up in my head. It's like almost as if I've been like subconsciously thinking about it the entire night, which I probably was, to be honest, like stressing out about it all day, trying to fix it. Not redefining anything anywhere, I don't. So Thinkulum, are you a developer yourself, or like what do you do? Fair enough. A lot of the viewers I used to get on before actually hadn't done game development and were just kind of interested in it. So I think that's my main demographic, but I'm not entirely sure. Processing for publishing, okay. So are you doing... is it like grammatical stuff, or is it like image-based text processing, or what kind of stuff is it you do specifically? Oh, okay, fair enough. So it's just kind of like the conversion from like the print process over to digital, essentially. Oh, okay, that's quite cool. It's not the kind of like job you really think about, but then you do, and then you're like, oh, okay, that job must exist somewhere. Yeah, exactly. I imagine it's quite a niche. Never met or heard of anyone actually that does that kind of work, but such a mess. Yeah, I can imagine. I imagine there's a lot of like kind of conflicting, convoluted, outdated standards that you have to work to, and it's a pain. I seem to remember someone saying that it was like that for the printer industry as well, which is why a lot of printer products are normally quite bad on the software end. Because normally, like, you're basically using standards that in some cases are like 50 years old and basically just interface with each other. But every interface has been built by some random person at some random point in time. And they just somehow cobble it all together and it works. All of these like kind of conflicting controllers and stuff like that. Oh, this is driving me mad. Right, there must be something here somewhere, but I can't see it right now. I imagine if I step away from the computer for like 5 minutes and come back, I'll see it, but at the moment I'm just a bit brain dead. So what I'll do is we've got pretty close. So just to recap kind of the work that we've got finished so far, we have basically converted over the entirety of our prop, hovering and collision volume system, so that we can have multiple highlights at the same time and things can't currently overlap with one another. Well, they can, but only in specific circumstances, which I will fix at a later date. So I can overlap them like this, which I'm going to look into fixing, and then reintroducing as a toggle. So I do want people to be able to have overlapping objects, but not in certain modes. I want to be able to turn that on or off. I've broken the highlighting, which we actually got working earlier, but I wanted to overhaul it anyway. It's nearly working though. And we have multiple deletions, among other things. So we've actually made quite a lot of progress with the prop system itself in terms of the controls, which is really nice. Quite happy with it. The rest of the improvements that we layer on top of this will be relatively simple and quite fast to do. I'm just reading what you've said. Thank you, then. Yeah, I imagine it's quite a common issue in your industry. Will I have an overlap setting for each type of object? No. So what I plan to do is, as with everything in the editor, I plan to put the code in, and if it works for everything, which it should do, leave that in there as a setting that the user can choose to turn on or off. So when you're placing stuff down, I don't want to restrict any creative decisions that people make. If you want to layer objects on top of each other, I want to allow it and then somehow accommodate that in the code. So like I have done with this, I've taken what was initially kind of a bug, well, not really a bug, just an oversight, which was placing props inside one another, and turned it into a feature. Because we realised that like clusters of rocks, for example, actually look really nice when set inside each other. But eventually we want to set these collision boundaries for these boxes, for these rocks, to be a bit more accurate for their size, so that they also can be deleted, say, from this corner as well. And the reason that is because with the AI, we want the AI to be able to roam around these objects. So as part of the nav mesh, its collision boundary needs to be taken into account without affecting the placement rules and stuff like that. So it's a good thing that this overlapping code is now in, because now we can have, we're not affecting the design of the worlds that you want to make, but we're offering that flexibility on the code side to be able to have the AI roam around it. And of course now you can remove and delete stuff as well. So it's just removing as many limitations of the base system as possible, and offering that flexibility then onto the user. And I've just remembered actually there's a block that needs updating. This one is slightly offset, so I need to submit a request to Josh to fix that. Yeah, turning bugs into features. So it's kind of like that. Like whenever I design a bit of code, I try and make it as flexible as I can, and non-limiting, because I don't want to shoehorn the user at the end of the day into some kind of weird design decisions that are based on just my laziness in terms of programming. So if there's something that I can't be bothered to program, then that's going to have consequences for the user. So my solutions that I'm building right now, I'm trying to make them as simple as possible while being as flexible as possible. But it is the reason why I had to overhaul that bit of code that I had before. But I'd say it's a worthwhile overhaul, like massively worthwhile, because now you can not only layer things but also delete them at the same time. There's no bugs, and now I can turn that into a setting which, if someone doesn't want to put objects beside each other, like they're placing down loads of trees, and they don't want to stack them on top of each other by accident, that's a really easy thing now for them to toggle on and off, and it just makes their life a lot easier. So I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. It's still got some work to do on it, but after that point, that particular feature, in terms of placement and highlighting, is pretty much done. We will need to revisit the UI at some point, because these debug boxes that I got currently don't actually work in release mode. They are just temporary highlights that I've added in as a way to get the code for the sizing working, basically, and it's something that will not work in a release build. So I will have to relook at it at some point, but it won't be as big of a task, and it will just be a matter of implementing any changes that Matthews gives me in terms of UI components that we built or something like that. So yeah, we're pretty much done now. I'm glad that I've had a lot more users on the stream today. Like normally I basically don't get any views, and I changed the title. Maybe for some reason that's it. Maybe people are finding this a bit more easily. Maybe the content's at a point now where it's more visually appealing, which is why people are watching. God knows. Sometimes you kind of just get a few users roll in and then it grows from there. So I'm super happy that people have been interacting and chatting. I will try to keep to the schedule that is listed in the channel description below. So it will be every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday at around 12. Normally I start a tiny bit later because I'm just setting up the stream, but I will try and be on time moving forward, obviously. So feel free, if you're interested in this, to come back at that time or give a follow. So thank you them for that. Thank you them. I'm getting tongue-tied. Thank you, Thinkulum is what I meant to say. For the follow, and we've hit our second follower goal of the day, which is pretty nuts given that I've not had followers for ages. There's also all of the links to the other places, so if you're interested in the content we do, hop over to maybe YouTube. I do blogs that are kind of related to the business on the Wix site, although we are looking at changing over to a new hosting platform eventually, because Wix is, to be quite honest, kind of shit, and it doesn't perform well on some of the lower end devices that I've tested it on. We'll be more active on Instagram hopefully moving forward, and on Twitter, because Twitter's kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit. Reddit we don't use that much anymore, but we do plan to be active on and have a page on eventually, a subreddit on. We are also trying to, I think we've already got a Discord server, but that will be more advertised in future for people to come in and join and make live suggestions there. It will kind of be like an all-in-one hub for all of the people that are interested in the content, want to make suggestions directly to me, even when I'm not streaming and not on individual videos. Be a good place for people to chat to each other as well. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching today, and I will see you on Thursday. Cheers.